I'm so grateful to have had the experience I did at JobWatch. I learnt a lot about myself, professionalism, teamwork, and employment law. Today I'm going to reflect on my time at JobWatch and discuss some of the experiences I had within the context of the questions asked by this assignment. Holmes, Foley, and Tang discuss the two notions of professionalism, pictured here on this Venn diagram, with their study suggesting that new lawyers from the study incorporated the traditional ideas of professionalism. In my opinion, a professional lawyer falls somewhere in the middle of these two ideas. I really enjoyed working with my mentors at JobWatch and found them extremely professional. However, they definitely demonstrated attributes from both these notions of professionalism. I found the solicitors I worked with by working with a community legal service were public servants. They worked together to achieve goals and targets and also independently worked on clients' cases. However, they also had a highly specialised knowledge of employment law. No matter what the caller's legal problem was, they knew an answer, making me believe that a professional lawyer falls somewhere in between the two views. I loved being a member of the JobWatch team and working with a group of professionals and other students who became my colleagues. On one of my days at the organisation, I had a caller who I'd spoken with and had attempted to ring back after speaking with the solicitor. However, they had not answered. I left extensive notes on the caller's file if the situation arose where they called back but I was not present. Another student answered the call and relayed the information to the caller. The caller then asked to speak with myself to clarify a few things once more. I was amazed at the way that three people, including the other student, the solicitor, and myself, worked together to provide this caller legal information. In this moment, I felt in awe of working as part of a team and working together to provide the best possible service to our caller. Throughout this unit, I have come to learn what emotional intelligence means. Throughout the lectures given, I have learnt that emotional intelligence means practicing the above listed and the statement. Holmes, Foley, and Tang state that emotional intelligence can be encouraged and developed by lawyers, and this is something I have tried to practice during my time at JobWatch. At times, some of the calls at JobWatch were really challenging and emotionally draining, given what the callers were disclosing. I would often stop at the end of the call and try to reflect on how I could have done better before moving on to the next caller. This reiterated what we talked about in the first assignment about the importance of reflective practice. I often would consider the information the caller had given me and the subsequent actions, the way I talked to the caller after their disclosures of distressing information. In doing this, I was aiming to practice emotional intelligence. I agree with Holmes, Foley, and Tang from my experiences that you can develop this emotional intelligence. I also saw emotional intelligence practiced from the lawyers I worked with, and seeing how they modelled emotional intelligence guided me to develop it further myself. I agree with Silver and Holmes' article that good lawyering is about how we interact with our clients. Silver considers the counter-transference and inability to address internal biases as a barrier to our interactions. I strongly agree with Silver when he stated that if we understand our differences and our clients' differences, we will provide better counsel. When I reflected on Silver's article, I remembered some of the calls that I had whilst at JobWatch. In particular, I spoke with a man who had been incarcerated 15 years ago for marijuana trafficking, and currently he had been unsuccessful for jobs that he was applying for when employers did a background check. When the caller disclosed this to me, I attempted to be completely non-judgmental through keeping my tone of voice the same and moving on with the discussion to determine whether this man had been discriminated against for these prior offences by the prospective employee's considerations of whether to employ him or not. When I spoke with the solicitor, he suggested I convey to the caller that in job interviews he should take the opportunity to explain to the prospective employer his prior offences and explain that he had changed, was hardworking, and should be given a chance by the employer to show just how good of a worker he was. The solicitor and I, both having a legal background and our internal biases, would reflect a belief that a person should not break the law. However, I believe we were both able to acknowledge this bias and move past this to offer the advice to the caller that held no judgment for a mistake he made 15 years ago. After reading Silver's article, I wrote down each internal biases I thought I might hold. And now before each call, I'm mindful of these biases and consider each client as different from myself with their own background. This is in an aim to better improve how I communicate and interact with each caller. This is something I know I can always improve on, and I aim to practice this reflection throughout my legal career. Following on from this, my internship at JobWatch taught me that I do hold these internal biases and made me have a good look at myself and consider what biases I might hold, including holding judgment for a person who had previously been incarcerated. I aim to continue to reflect on the biases I hold so that I can reflect on my emerging professional identity and adapt to be an ethically and socially minded lawyer. I was very lucky to have solicitors who modelled these values and gave great legal information to every caller, no matter their personal circumstances and background. This reiterated what Holmes, Foley, and Tang cited in the Carnegie Report in their article. This is a bibliography of the resources that I have referred to during this video presentation.